and welcome to another episode of Writing While Black. This is your host, Angela, and we have Ayoka with us. Say hello, Ayoka. When you're listening, you can't hear. You can only see people waving on the YouTube. On Spotify, they can't hear us waving. Say hi.
Okay. I'm saying hello. Hello, everyone. How are you this morning, this afternoon,
Yeah,
this evening,
this evening.
wherever
How you
the
doing?
time hits you?
Today we're having a conversation, a short conversation about Black writing, what constitutes Black writing, or what constitutes a Black creative endeavor. So if the writer is Black, is that Black writing? If the characters are Black, is that a Black movie? If the producers are Black, what are our lines for Blackness? For me, let me just say this. I feel like I don't want to say I have a high bar because I'm not trying to assign value. But for me, I want to consume work that is created by Black people, for Black people, written by Black people, focuses on Black people, is produced by Black people, is distributed to Black people by Black people, and is for Black people. I probably already said that, but that's really, really important to me that it is for us, because I feel like media, we think of it a lot of times as entertainment. Oh, it's just a movie. Oh, it's just a book. But I feel like a large part of shaping our worldview is the media that we consume. The worlds that are created have a huge impact on what we think is possible, who we think we are, and who we think we could be. So that's something that's kind of really important to me. Off camera, when we started talking, Ayoka, you were saying, but I felt like you were going in the direction of saying, for me, the most important thing is that it is a black writers. If it's Black writers, we in there. It's good.
Well, let me speak for me. Something you said reminded me when I was an undergrad student, we had to do a thesis just like you do in graduate school and beyond. And my thesis was, I can't remember the exact title, but I was a communications major. My concentration was advertising. And my thesis was about how the U.S. media perpetuated hegemony. So I talked about.
Hold on a second. What is hegemony? I've heard the word, but I'm not quite sure what it means.
Basically, it has to do with perpetuating the ideals of a majority group. Don't pin me for the exact definition, but basically it's a majority group is controlling the media and therefore influencing everything. And I truly believe that. I know that when we're talking media, a movie isn't just a movie. Hell, a commercial isn't just a commercial. And people used to laugh at me because I've never been a football fan, but for the Super Bowl, I was all up in it for the commercials. I wanted to watch the commercials. Now, with that said, I feel like when we're talking about, because it's the same reason why I bought my children Black books, and that they could see faces that look like theirs and faces that look like their friends and their family and things like that. Now, I also feel like when you were defining what that looks like for you, I feel like first and foremost, we need discernment. We need to know what we're looking at and what we're valuing, because I feel like if you have discernment and you understand the power of images and the power of storytelling, then you can make better decisions about what you want to watch and what you don't want to watch, or what you want to read and what you don't want to read. Because for someone like me, I like to watch. I want to see what is being put out there because I want to understand and I want to dissect it, and I want to have that conversation with my daughter when we watch it together. So it's not that I won't watch or I won't consume, but I think for me, the pivotal piece is us understanding,
Mhm.
and understanding the power and understanding the influence and understanding the why. Because there are some stories that, unfortunately, I mean, I want to get to a place where this is not the case, but there's some stories that we would never have seen if it wasn't put out by the existing media structure. Now we can debate whether that's good or bad, but I are always argue that if someone sees that movie on a subject that they've never seen, that can spark them to go and do their research and learn on their own about that topic. Like, I remember it was a movie and it was awful. I was a big George Lucas fan. Well, I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I'm not talking all these little spin-offs and stuff. I'm talking about the original shit. But anyway, because it's a million worlds that then spun off of that. But he did a movie about, see, now I can't remember. Was it the Tuskegee Airmen that he directed a movie about? I could be misspeaking, but I think he did a movie about the Tuskegee Airmen. And it wasn't good. However, in watching the press about it and interviews about him, when it was, building up to it. I hope I got that right, that it was about the Tuskegee. I appreciated why he did it. I appreciated that he wanted people to know this story, this untold story about these men who risked their lives that people don't even know, and what that contributed to history. But in some ways, even the original Color Purple, people had issues that Steven Spielberg did it, but I'm like, if he didn't do it, it wouldn't have gotten done. Especially back then. We still don't have the juice that I would like us to have in those areas, but we definitely didn't have it in 82 or whenever that was, 84. We weren't in those discussions and sitting at those tables. Now, at least there's some representation. And you got people like Ava DuVernay, who is working. She's a little engine that could to change that. She's not just about, I'm gonna make my little movies, and that's gonna be that. She is working to change what it looks like, the people who are behind the camera, the people who are in distribution, the people who are doing the writing, the people who are making the decisions of what movies get funded and what movies get to be, actually. So I appreciate people who understand the role that they have. And I mean, she's not the only one. And there have been a lot of actors that have been, advocates. I mean, in the last few years, we just lost one, James Earl Jones, but a few years ago, hasn't been that long, Harry Belafonte. I mean, you had actors who were activists as well and very vocal and outspoken in terms of representation and having seats at certain tables. That's something you've heard Denzel talk about a lot. I mean, and people look at him and feel like he has all this juice and power, but he'll be the first to say we still not at the table, don't have seats at tables that we should. And so I mean, like anything else, writers can really appreciate this. It's a work in progress. It really is. I think you need to have people. When I say people, I mean Black writers, Black directors. We need to have people that are even interested in those fields to want to go into those fields, and not only want to go into them, but want to push and expand the numbers of us in those fields, and create spaces that are ran by us. We don't need a seat at your table because we know you don't want to play fair anyway. We've learned that a million times. So what does it look like how do we figure out how to do this so we can own our own everything? Now,
Yeah.
again, that is going to that taps on a lot of different issues, money, power, influence, because anytime you start tapping on that money, then you're going to get a reaction. So just even knowing that going in, that you're going to it's going to be some fight, because when you start pulling money from somewhere else, then folks want to get involved.
I definitely want to underscore and kind of big up this comment about, well, I wrote, whose table are we trying to be at? Because I feel like I'm totally not for trying to be a part of their system. I think I'm enmeshed in their system in lots of ways that I haven't figured out how to detangle myself. But intellectually, I feel like there's no part of their system that is for us and is about us. I feel like it's a worldwide system of white supremacy, and it's about advancing white supremacy. So even when you have Black faces that have gotten in and gotten a seat at the table, the roles that we're playing are roles that are in service to the system that we're participating in. So, definitely that, like, not just the faces in Black books, but the messages and who's writing the books and why. Because you can have a white person write a book and have Black faces in it, and that not necessarily be for us.
True.
I remember hearing, I think it was Spike Lee when he was doing the film on Malcolm X. And I think that at the end of the process, there was a time when he ended up, this is what I have in my imagination. I don't know if it's true
He
or
was
not.
short on money.
And I felt that there was not just an element of money, but to me, money is actually a proxy for control, but that there was a way that the money that he had wanted the film to go, and he wanted it to go another way. And he ended up
I
raising
don't,
money from.
yeah, I don't recall that piece, but I do know for certain that he had overspent whatever the budget
Hmm.
was, and
Hmm.
and he wasn't finished,
Hmm.
and they wanted him to wrap it up, and he's like, okay,
Hmm.
but I'm not finished. And then we're going to need money for distribution and all of the post stuff. And he was like,
Hmm.
all right, well, I'm gonna go get my own money. That's
Hmm.
what he did.
So the impression that I have, which whether it's true in that specific situation or not, I think that it's true in a lot of situations, is that money is a lever of control. If there's a movement of young people talking about the conditions in the Black community, and this rap thing is getting really hot, let me get ahead of that. Let me get ahead of the narrative. Let me regain control or gain control of that narrative and wave some money at people and have them shift up what they're focusing on, what they're talking about, because that's who I'm going to give money to. That's who I'm going to. And so for me, it felt like, with my understanding of that thing, was this is the way we want the story to go, and this is the way he wanted the story to go. And there was that lever of control there in terms of how the story was going to go. I remember hearing Everybody Loves Chris. I can't remember the actor's name, but it was like a story of his a little sitcom about his life. And I think I heard him in an interview say that the woman that he cast as his mother, is it Tashina Arnold? I think it's
Yeah,
Tashina Arnold.
yeah.
That the woman that was cast as his mother, they kept wanting to cast a light skinned or racially ambiguous woman. And he's like, but my mama is unambiguous, like this is, there was like some pushback there. And it ended up going the way that he wanted it to go. It caused me to think a lot about the times when things get shifted around where we're pushing for something. We have a seat at the table and we're pushing for something, but we don't have control and we don't have power. And so it ends up going another way.
Right, but I'm gonna say this just the way I've talked about people who go through the big 5 publishers or whatever. At that point, you have a choice to make.
Of course.
Either you
And
say it's going to be this way or it's not going to happen, or you make the compromise. And I'm not
we
judging people. Well, it depends on the compromise. Let me say that.
we exist in a system where, yeah, we definitely make choices, but a lot of times, like Bob's talking about the woman on the Black Romance podcast, and she was like, she didn't want to do it, but she wanted to write professionally. And so that was her way of making money. And there was another woman who's like, I work in corporate, so I can just tell my stories the way I want to tell them. I don't have to. But we're put in a position where we do have to, yeah. And different people make different choices. And I
Right.
definitely feel like people are just doing the best that they can.
I agree. I
Yeah,
agree. I
yeah,
agree.
yeah.
And in terms of being at a table or not, I think some people feel like not so much being they are at the table or want to be at the table because they so much want to be in this system or whatever. I think sometimes, well, I know for some people, they want to be in the room and know what they're doing and be able to either
The spook who sat
shift
by the
that.
door.
Not, no, that's not a good that's not a good example. That's like the opposite.
The spook who didn't sit by the door. The spook who sat at the table.
No. But yeah, I think some people want to, they know that certain projects are happening or certain projects are on the table and they want to make sure that, okay, this project is happening whether we're here or not. And so we're going to use whatever influence we have to shift it back the way it needs to be. I think that there are some people who do that
I think some
because
people try to do it.
they um they feel like they feel like it's going to happen either way. So
Hmm.
let me see if I can do something.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I think a lot of times we end up putting a lot of energy into other people's stuff. I want to get at their table. Okay, I'm gonna try to, and if we could use that energy for us and for building and developing us, it would be a beautiful thing. And I think a lot of times there's a lot of I think we get conditioned to want to be in their system because I think it benefits them for us to be working on building or shifting their system as opposed to building our own.
I think people want to do both. It's, I don't, it, for me, it depends on the person, it depends on the project. I don't see them as a spook sitting at the door. I don't see them as wanting so bad to be with white people. Some people are advocates and have their own agenda.
Hmm.
Now whether they're successful or not, I don't know, but they could be successful in what their mission was.
Mm.
And but I don't disagree that, yeah, we need to create our own spaces. But like I said before, I'm understanding that people need to go into it understanding that the more powerful it becomes, be ready to fight. Because when
Mm,
you start pulling those dollars
mm.
away, then it's going to be some foolishness, some
And not just
serious
for me,
foolishness.
the dollars again are proxy for control. When they see that they're losing control of us, losing control of how we see ourselves, losing control of how we see the world, when they're not making the movies about us and our history or telling the story, telling us who we are the way they want us to get it, that keeps us, then it's gonna be they quick to fight and they gonna be ready to fight because keeping us under control is a
Right,
big that's
right,
what that money is for.
right. But I
So
think that the form of control, at least that media form of control, I think that level of control has slipped a lot over
maybe
time, and people's, at least relatively speaking, people's eyes are more open to what they're consuming, and people are making better choices for themselves and their families. and and to me, that when I talked about discernment early on, that is critical.
hmm
Even if they're not someone who is a writer or a director or whatever, somebody, that's in that space to create images and create stories. The fact that they are at least in their sphere of influence critically thinking and have that level of discernment to decide to step away from certain things or to avoid certain things, or to, if they're looking
critically
at them,
engage with certain
yes,
things.
yes, then that is to me half battle.
hmm
Um,
One of the things I think I've said before when we were talking on this podcast is that when I started like, okay, I'm gonna write, and I joined like Book Funnel, or I can't, it was something BookBub. I think I was part of BookBub, and I put myself in the category of Black stories or African American stories or whatever. And so they would send me, like, when something was on sale or cheap or a deal or whatever, they would send me, this book is only 99 cents, or this book is free, or this book is half off. And I started noticing that a lot of the stuff that was coming through the category of African American was white. I mean, was what I would consider white. The subject matter might be focused on Black folks, but it was by white people, and it was kind of like offensive and upsetting to me. But at first, when I started thinking about it in the broader context, I was kind of like, okay, this is how this system works. Wherever they are constantly in our spaces, controlling and managing how we think about ourselves. They're controlling and managing the stories that are told to us about who we are. But it kind of surprised me. Another thing is this idea of buying Black. Like growing up in Detroit, a lot of people would be like, let's buy Black. And I remember when I had a Mary Kay business, and people would be like, that's not a Black business. And my people, I come from people who have like stores. So like my uncle who had a corner store who was selling Lay's potato chips and alcohol and Twinkies, that's Black owned, but me getting my supplies from Mary Kay is not Black owned. And it got me to thinking about the layers of, like, you can have, like, I was making a profit, so that's one layer of Black owning, but who I was getting my supplies from was not a Black company. Lay's, Doritos, Mary Kay, Scott, Johnny Scott alcohol, whatever alcohol it's called, is not Black owned. So that's another layer that we don't, and I think it's similar. There are layers in terms of, if you look at a film, or if you look at, I looked up the Jeffersons, like I think the creator is like a white guy. A lot of the writers and directors are white guys. Most of the people on screen were Black, and I thought of it as a Black thing. But like getting into the layers of things.
yeah. Yeah, the Jeffersons, Good Times, all of those shows back then, definitely. I think as time went on, you had more Black writers, but you still had other people in the room, so to
Mhm.
speak. But I mean, as a little kid, I didn't know. But
Mhm.
looking back, I mean, I'm sure my mom knew. What is it, Norman Lear? He was making everything back then.
Mm.
And it was like, especially back then, the shows that were on, I mean, you could not watch TV. I mean, that was an option. But there was not going to be anything, you know. I do remember back then my mother watched a lot of PBS
Mhm.
and public television. Like
Mhm.
she
Mhm.
was a big consumer of Howard's Howard University's station.
Mhm.
Um and so that was different. With PBS, I mean, you still, you know, it, however, the type of stories that were being told and some of the people who contributed the stories, it was a different, it was, it was just different from what you're getting on whatever. What were the channels then? Like 4,
NBC,
5, 7,
CBS.
I don't know, whatever.
Oh, we had 2, 4, and 7 were the main channels.
Okay.
20 and 50 were like off to the side. Like the
Right.
scene came on channel 20 or 50. That was like a black, like the scene.
What was it? It was a dance show? You dancing? Okay. Oh,
It was
okay.
like
What
Soul
same
but
train?
Detroit.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Okay.
And I think that was like on channel 20 or 50, or maybe like even 62. But yeah, for us, it was 2, 4, and 7.
And us, it was 4, 5, 7, and 9. And then we had channel 20 and channel 50.
Okay. Yeah. And
And
I think PBS was 13.
PBS for us was 26.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 26. And I think Howard University television was like 22.
Let me ask you this. This is off the subject, but driving cross country, like in Detroit, the black station was like 97.8 or 98.7. And driving cross country, I would notice that. And then there was like kind of a secondary black channel around 103. But driving cross country, I noticed that if I got out of range of the radio, you could tune in around there. And if there was a black station, it would usually be around 98. Was your black station around
Yeah,
98?
yeah. So we had 93.9 and
Uh-huh.
96.3, which is Howard station,
Uh-huh.
Howard University station. And then we had 102.3, which is
Uh-huh.
Kathy Hughes station. And then 89.3 is WOL. So Black Talk Radio. I mean,
Uh,
they played some music too, but
music.
and then I feel like there's a jazz station up around 105.9 maybe. Or
Mm-hmm.
I might be remembering some of Philly's stations because you know I was in Philly for a while. I don't know, but yes, they seem to be concentrated around the same. I guess they gave all of them the same frequency because they were short range. I think I learned that somewhere.
Oh, okay.
I feel like I learned that in a class somewhere. They didn't have they were a short range frequency.
Interesting.
Uh-huh. That's what they gave the black stations. But I'm like, you dummy, you didn't think that through because because they all clustered around the same, as soon as one end, you could pick up the next one. So
Mm-hmm.
you what you were trying to do didn't work.
Yeah. Um, TV channel in Detroit. We had the black owned. I wonder if the scene was on the black owned TV channel. WGPR 62. I think the scene was on channel 62. Okay, that's neither here nor there.
Well, no,
But in a way it is.
yes, it's related, definitely. When I was little, it was 100. That station went away at some point, but I remember in the morning we would listen to OK 100.
I don't remember that one.
That's when I was real little. I can remember my mama doing my hair in the morning, and we listened to OK 100.
We used to have this show. It was easy listening in the evening, and the guy was when you get to the end of your rope, tie a knot and keep hanging. I can't remember what his name was. I was gonna say Mason, but I don't think it was Mason. Oh, the electrifying mojo. The electrifying mojo. When you get to the and I felt like that was an anti-suicide message when I got, to be around 12 or 13, and I was like, we have to stop suicide. I was like, even the electrifying mojo says when you get to the end of your rope, tie a knot and keep hanging. Like, I thought that was so deep. Okay. Okay, so Buying Black is Layers. Hollywood Shuffle, the movie, I think kind of now he was talking about kind of working as an actor and being told, oh, you're not black enough, be more black, and kind of like some of that stuff. But I think that I'm curious about, like, as writers and as dealing with mainstream publishing houses, or I wonder in what ways we're being shifted and herded, if we are. I think we probably are, because I feel like that's the nature of the system, to constantly shift and hurt us. And I wonder if it shows up through editors. I wonder how it shows up. So that's definitely something like how.
I mean, you can hear well, some writers will talk about it, but I mean, that's why a lot of people do indie. They don't want their story change. They don't want to. They don't want pieces cut out. They don't want to dilute their stories or characters in any way. And they want them promoted in a certain way, because that's another way you can manage things with how you promote it, or if you promote it. There are authors that make a decision to push back, and then there's some who don't. And so you don't know what got lost on the cutting room floor, so to speak.
And editing is such an intimate process. There's like a huge level of trust there, or it's like, as an actor, when I'm on stage, I can't see what the director can see. So I have to trust the director to guide me to give what's going to work. And it's the same thing, like, as to me, or similar as a writer, you rely on your editor to see things in a way that you can't see because of your perspective. Hopefully they have a broader perspective. And if you have that who's editing, the importance of editing, but like, if you don't trust the feedback from people, if you don't trust that relationship, it's kind of like the work can suffer.
Well, if you don't trust it, then you shouldn't be in the relationship to begin with.
Right. And sometimes we trust them too much. We're like, well, they're the authority and they have all the answers. And so if they say something, then we're kind of like, depending on where we are developmentally, we might turn over too much or not fight back enough and say, no, I think that's important, or I meant this, or we may not even understand how to manage that relationship or have the skill set to manage it. So yeah.
Right. And then I go back to that word discernment, the importance of knowing yourself and knowing what you're seeing or what you're experiencing and why. This person, if they're cutting up my work or they're wanting to change it, being confident enough in yourself and as a writer to question. I mean, that's your work. Why do you want to cut that out? I want to have a conversation about it, and then we'll see, but I need to understand your thinking, instead of letting someone tell you, well, we're going to do this, this, and this. why are we doing that? To what
Mhm.
end?
And I think it depends on where you are developmentally, how you're able to navigate those types of situations. Because like I know myself well enough and know what I'm trying to do well enough to handle that now. But I don't know if I definitely was a different person 30 years ago, 20 years ago, 10 years ago. I continue to grow into myself and my ability to navigate certain types of situations. So another thing that I kind of feel is sort of connected is social media. So, okay, in the same way that music is open more now, um, publishing is open more now, media in general is open more now. So anybody theoretically can start a YouTube channel and put their stuff out there and get followers or get have their voice heard. Like theoretically, it looks in a way like gatekeeping has kind of been there's less gatekeeping than there used to be. I think that this whole thing, and we haven't talked about AI, but I think this whole thing of the algorithm as a gatekeeper is a key thing. And I think a lot of people have I feel like it's been demonstrated that the algorithm gatekeeps Black us, that the algorithm pushes certain things and pushes down certain other things.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
it keeps a lot of stuff, and I think I don't. Well, I don't know because different ones have different algorithms. I don't know how they work. I don't even think it's worth my time understanding how they work. But I know that I think that was whatever was going on with TikTok. I don't know if the algorithm wasn't strong enough or what, but that was a big part of the big push. They were talking about shutting down TikTok.
I thought they did shut. I thought it was shut down in the States in 6 months. Oh, so
No,
why were they shutting it? I thought they was, I
because
heard, oh, go ahead.
they were shutting it down because, it's worldwide. And
Hmm.
so there are things that people have access to and can see in a way
Hmm.
that they couldn't before.
Hmm.
And that is why they were trying to shut it down. And
Yeah,
they
I've
and
heard
they were
that.
getting a lot of pushback from, users, obviously, because they were like, you're trying to censor things. That's
Hmm.
all this is about. It has nothing to do with no security breach with or
Hmm.
security concerns with China or the bullshit, whatever. Yeah, yeah, that was a big thing. Why they were trying to shut down TikTok.
Hmm. Hmm.
And I don't know, maybe they still will at some point. I don't know, but I haven't heard anything else about it.
Oh, okay. For some reason, I thought like about 2 or 3 months ago that it was like a wrap.
Yeah, I mean that's what the talk was then. But there's been a change. Yeah, I don't know what brought it
Oh,
about. And that's why I said maybe I prefaced it by saying maybe the algorithm wasn't strong enough or whatever, or was different, but maybe they reworking it. I don't know. So
they're
that
constantly reworking them.
no, but I'm saying in a way that, well, they wouldn't even be able to do that because if people all of a sudden can't see stuff that they used to see and stuff, there's no there's no hiding that.
Well, they do it in subtle ways because people say, like, I remember when I was like very involved with
No, no,
YouTube.
no.
Oh,
I know that, but I'm just saying the reason why they were going the initial reason why they were going after TikTok is because it was opening people's eyes. Let's put it that way. They were
mm,
seeing things around the world and even
making
in the
connections.
States. Yes. And that was why they were trying to clamp that down. I'm saying if they change the algorithm to stop that, people will immediately know that.
Mm,
That's not that you can't do that with subtlety. Cut off what people can see. So I don't know how that's gonna be managed. I don't know how they're
Mm,
gonna figure that one out.
mm,
I don't even care. But people, yeah, people have seen, I mean, even yeah, social media, not even just in the States, but in terms of like protests and social justice and things like that, around the world, people have used it to show things that other people wouldn't normally see.
mhm,
And it's been like, I didn't know that was happening, or I didn't know
mhm.
that that would. And so, yeah, yeah, I'm sure there are a lot of people who don't like it.
I definitely think that they start shifting things and changing things, and before you know it, you are being exposed to less than what you were being exposed to before. You are being exposed to what they want you to be exposed to. So I think that they can make changes subtly, and I think they adjust and make changes subtly all the time. All
I
right.
agree. I agree.
So, black writing, what is black? Have we covered it? Have we kind of dug in?
I mean, I guess so. It's like anything else. Needs to be a continual conversation,
Mm,
and it's going to take um continual, I don't know what I want to say, continual focus
mm.
and pressure, and to get to a place, and action to get to a place where we literally control the entire, whatever word you want to insert,
Our narrative,
image.
our images,
Yeah,
yeah.
narrative. I don't know if I have enough energy left to do that. Like,
Oh,
I feel like I've been working on
oh,
that all my
uh-huh.
life. I don't know.
But that's
I need
all we
some
can
young
do.
people's energy.
Right. That's what you got children. I mean,
Right,
that's the system. We
right.
do it, and then at some point we be like, I'm
We
good.
gotta hand it off to the young people. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to talk about like this vigilance thing because as a vegetarian, a lot of times, like when I first became a vegetarian, I was like, oh, Snapple, it says natural, so it must be healthy. It says natural, right? On the label. And when I got a little more sophisticated, I read the ingredients. I'm like, "Man, natural? How can they say natural on the front and have these ingredients on the back?" But I feel like the we have to be ever vigilant because it's a moving, growing thing. And I just stay aware, and I feel like being engaged in critically analyzing what I'm consuming, trying to pay as much attention as I can to what I'm consuming, in conversation with other people, just being open to different perspectives about, oh, well, I thought that was a pretty good movie. And then sometimes I'll hear somebody say something. I say, oh, I never thought about it like that. And then I can't unsee the point that they made. And I'm grateful for that because I feel like it's a community. We're in it together, young and old. We all have different perspectives and different experiences. And it's us connecting that helps us to like push forward to the point where we have regained control of our narrative, that is the what we're creating now, that is what we're doing, whatever little bit it seems like it is, it's important. And the more of us who are doing it, the better. But if we do what we can, we do our best and keep it moving. So all right, I feel like I was listening to our podcast and there was something I was like, that would be a good thing to end with, but I can't remember now what it is. On one episode, you like, that's not gonna work. That's not. And I'm like, you like, no, that's not gonna keep writing. That's what I
Keep
said.
writing.
Keep
I was
writing.
about to say, keep writing.
Keep on writing. On my YouTube channel, I have a song that I created. I can't remember what it. Oh, be you, be fabulous, you, be you, be fabulous, you. But anyway, I'm gonna come up with something for writing while Black. It's gonna be good too.
Keep writing, y'all. Keep writing.
Keep writing. Keep writing. Keep telling your stories. Tell your truth. By us, for us. Bye.
Bye.
Peace.